now tuning into the All I Need podcast.
But I'm just so glad it's skateboarding. It's been the one thing that came to me at the right time. It could have been anything I imagined, but skateboarding was what it was. So I love skateboarding to death. That's right when I found skateboarding. Like my friend showed me and I was like latched onto it because it was the only thing at that time that was really fun and like my escape. And I fell in love with it, you know?
Oh, hell yeah.
Is this thing on?
Did you? Yeah.
It is on.
Did you hear it say recording?
I did.
That's a good sign.
I figured I'd pop open I can't see it, Patty's beer, since you're Boston and stuff up in those areas.
Wait, what is that one?
Patty's Pub.
Nice.
I don't know.
I know. I love that you're in the studio with me right now.
I'm in the studio. I was gonna put my at 40 plus thing up here, and I was like, no, man, I'm just gonna. I went and cropped one of your videos. You can see your microphone sticking out there in the corner, and it was 2 videos ago when your homie got up to use the bathroom, left the seat empty. So like the seat behind me is empty.
It's perfect because you're literally on the opposite side, dude.
Yeah,
so good.
I hooked it up.
I'm gonna join you with having a drink. I got a Sam Adams Winter Lager, festive and smooth.
This is green. Sam Adams, can't go wrong with Sam.
Wait, what's green? Your beer is green?
Beer is green.
Let's see that thing. Hold it up after.
I don't know if it'll shine in this fake. Oh man, I'm gonna have to turn this visual background off real quick to show it.
Oh, because it's green.
Yeah. Hold on, let's see.
Your shoulder just disappeared for a second there.
It's crazy. Let's see. Virtual background. I'm gonna turn it off.
I mean, I know the color green, so if it's too crazy, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's still crazy. Oh, man, how do you turn it off?
There you go.
I don't know. Oh, nope, that didn't work.
It's because you got green screen. That's kind of sick, man. I love that you do that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm sideways. I'm upside down. Nope, it didn't work.
Dude.
I don't know how to use this stuff.
You just went 360 on me, bro.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Like Tony
Best
Hawk.
Best trick I've done all day. Oh, there you can see it. Look at that.
Oh yeah, you're drinking some high C type.
I don't know.
Ectoblast.
It says it's a warm filtered craft lager. Solid
choice.
Wait, I don't know what this means because this shouldn't be on a beer, but it says lubricant.
Hey, it's got a dual
lubricant.
purpose.
Wait, it says no kidding. Says this no kidding. I wish you could see the can. It says lubricant and colon cleanser straight from the sack.
At least they're honest, bro.
Yeah, that's nuts. Oh man, you got to figure out how to get this background off just so I could show you that. That's crazy.
That's insane, dude.
Oh man.
Okay, so I guess I kind of want to. I don't normally introduce my guests, which I guess I probably should introduce them, but maybe you introduce yourself. Give people a little insight as to, because you were just starting to talk about serving and being in the Army and stuff. Maybe give a little introduction for my listeners that don't know you.
Yeah, so I think most people just know me as Adventures in Skateboarding, if they know me at all. I'm a 44, soon to be 45-year-old man that picked up skateboarding at 41. So I did skate a little in the 80s, but I didn't have any tricks, right? It was go downhill, go fast, go everywhere, maybe hit a launch ramp, that type of stuff. But I didn't have any tricks. 2006, tried to get my kids into skating, got my ollie back at that point. But then life takes over, didn't touch a board again for another 10 years. And then 2017, I was like, man, I need something that's not work related, something that's just kind of for me. And I had a cruiser board, and I just kind of went out skating. I was living in El Paso, Texas at the time. And all of a sudden I found like all these amazing skate parks.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? Like this didn't exist. When I grew up in San Diego, we had Del Mar, but you didn't go to Del Mar unless you were Tony Hawk, Willie Santos, right? Unless you're just great. So like having all these parks was new to me. I just started exploring them and I just never put the board down. And so now on top of my career, which I've been in the Army almost 26 years in February, when I'm not at work and not engaged with family stuff, like, man, I spend every free moment I have skating. I should probably spend it finishing my degree and other important things, but like this is the most important thing to me right now because it creates the best harmony in my life. A lot of people are like, oh, you got to have work-life balance. Balance is a terrible word. Balance implies 50-50, equal on both sides. You're never going to have work-life balance, but can you find something that brings it harmony? That the work week makes the work week a little easier, makes the stressful moments a little easier. And skateboarding's been that for me. And then sharing it on YouTube, like, man, this was not like the plan when I started. But I started sharing it because it wasn't like, oh, look at my skateboarding. It was, hey, you 44-year-old dude, all in on work, go make some time for yourself and you'll probably be better at work. You'll probably be better at all the other things you do if you take care of yourself a little better. And that's kind of where the channel started. And I lost track of that over time. I called the channel Progression in Skateboarding when I first started.
How long have you had the channel for?
It's going to be 4 years, February 19th. And
right.
my goal is to get 5 videos up by then, because if I can do that, I'll have 100 videos at the 4-year mark. So it's not a lot. Like, I'm not the guy that like, I'm going to upload Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. No, I'm going to upload when I have a video to upload between life and everything else. So it's a slow process, but I don't force videos. Either I have a video of something I was naturally going to do anyway, or I don't. Like, I don't plan them out. I don't like, oh, I got to get one. Man, I could go a month without a video, and if I don't have video, I'm comfortable with that. Like, I'm not going to force anything.
Yeah, that's a good practice, because people can tell if you're forcing it. It's like less enjoyable, you know?
Yeah. Plus, like, my progression's slow. Like, if I go out there and like, I'm going to make a video 3 times a week, you know what you're going to see fucking for the next 3 videos? Me falling down trying to slappy nose slide, right? It's going to be the same shit over and over and over again. But anyway, like I was saying, the channel was first called Progression in Skateboarding. And unfortunately, like, I got too tied up in the progression, and like, you're not going to learn a new trick every time you go out. You're going to set the foundation for a future trick, but you're not going to always get one. So then I changed the name simply to Adventures in Skateboarding, and it's like, hey, this is my adventure. Like, I'm going to try different boards, I'm going to try different tricks, I'm going to try different parks. Like, this is just my adventure, and you're all invited to come along for the ride. And man, I've met the best community in the world. You can't beat it. Like, this people are like, oh, YouTube skaters. Yeah, you know who YouTube skaters are? They're everyday people from all around the world that just love picking up their board and skating. And that's the difference, which we kind of text about this after your last guest was great, by the way.
Thanks.
About like, Instagram is like, I just want to see a trick. YouTube is, I want to invest in that person, in that person's story, in that person's journey. The long content still has a place.
Yeah.
And I think eventually it's going to come back around. Obviously, TikTok, Instagram, those type of things are killing it right now, short attention span stuff. But at the end of the day, it always comes back to human connection. And I think YouTube still provides that human connection.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love long format, obviously. Like, it's really, it's not so single serving. It's the good, bad, and ugly. It's good. I really enjoy it. It's the way
it's the journey, right? Like, I want to invest in people. I don't follow a lot of big channels. I follow hundreds of small channels because I'm interested in their process, right? I want to see how they do it. I want to watch them grow as humans in their videos and their editing and the skating. Like, I like the whole process.
I love that you can go to a channel, any channel. You don't have to go to a big one. You could just go to any channel, regardless of how many subscribers they have, and just peer into someone's life. And like, there's a lot of human capital out there of like amazing, funny, dedicated, cool people that are just like creating content. It's unbelievable, to be honest.
All walks of life. You got professional graphic designers. You've got, excuse me, you've got teachers. You've got, people that just lost their job, and like, this is the one saving grace. like you've got so many walks of life, but it all comes together in skateboarding, you know, like that's the one common denominator that we can all rally around, you know. I love
Oh
it.
yeah. Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Skateboarding is great for that one, man.
Yeah.
It encompasses anybody who wants to be a part of it, which is amazing. You
Yeah.
can
And it weeds out quitters, right? Like I think I don't remember who said I was watching a video and they're like, oh man, skateboarding weeds out quitters. Like it does. And so does YouTube. Like how many small channels have popped on, like, I'm gonna be the next John Hill or whatever. And like 6 months into it, oh man, I can't believe I'm not famous. I'm out. You
yeah.
know, nope.
Pretty much with anything, it's like you need to find a way to, you know, whether it's skating or it's a YouTube channel, you got to find a way to do things within that medium and like do it in a way that you enjoy it so that you want to
Yeah.
do it. A lot of
Yep.
people like are chasing something that they saw or trying to recreate something.
Yeah.
It helps if you can just do something because you want to get better at it, because then you'll get through all the shitty parts of it, because like
Yep.
in the beginning it's hard, you're building up a following, like even if it's your skating, it's hard because you have to build up those foundational tricks and learn the turn front side, turn back side, get the ollie, practice your fucking pop, you know,
Yeah.
work out your flick, which means 1,000 bails until you can
Yeah.
figure out how to flick, you know. And
For
like
sure.
it's same with YouTube. It's like you don't know what's gonna work, and nothing. There's no set formula, so you gotta
Yep.
try, and you gotta like. In the beginning stages of making my channel, I did a bunch of videos and I tried a bunch of different things, and then eventually I started like forming on a style and figuring out what I wanted to do and how, and that I could enjoy it, and I didn't have to do things that I thought I did, and like especially when you're young and you're like looking into things, it's like there's so many experts out there that aren't fucking
Yeah.
experts. They just kind of like tell you, like they're out there giving you information thinking so they can get
Right.
views, but you're
The
like, you're
the
not
problem
really
with
helping me.
experts, the
Yeah,
problem with experts, if you follow experts, your channel's gonna look like everyone else's channel.
exactly.
You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
it doesn't work. I think so. When I started, I had no clue what I was doing. So at first it was like, here's some 5-second clips of me trying to ollie up a block or 50-50. Those are like the first 5 videos. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to vlog because that's what skaters do, or you know, skateboarders on YouTube, they vlog. So I like tried that. I was like, man, I'm terrible at that. I need to not, I need to not do that. I'm long-winded. These videos are super long. They don't really, I have a message in them, but it gets lost in the 17 minutes of bullshit that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, and then I went to South Korea and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do voiceover. So I'm gonna make short videos, like 4 or 5 minutes. I'm gonna film everything. I'll come home, I'll edit it, and I'll just tell the story. And I was like, man, I kind of like that. But then I lost this, right? This eye-to-eye contact, this connection with who I am as a human, because it was just voiceover.
Yeah.
And then I was watching this dude, Tulip Mafia, makes rap music video reviews, like he's a reactor.
Yep.
And most reactors I watch, they're in a big chair and the video's small in the corner. Well, he was small in the corner and he had the video up behind him on a green screen. I was like, oh man, how do you make a green screen? Because I'm not a creative person. Like I had never filmed, edited anything when I started this. I started all this at the same time I started skateboarding. So I looked up online, how do you make a green screen? I went out to the store and I bought 9 pieces of green construction paper and I taped it to the wall of the apartment I was living in. I'm fucking with my computer. I'm like, oh shit, it works. So then I was like, okay, how am I gonna do this? And I just went out and I just filmed everything. And then I come back and I edit the video and I'm just kind of thinking about what was the day about, what was the message, like what did I get out of it? And I build that video. And the minute I hit play to watch that video back for the first time ever, that's when I'm recording my reaction. So I'm reacting to my own video, freestyling it right there with what I was thinking during the edit. And then I combine those 2 videos and now you've got me kind of explaining the session. And the narrative I kind of use is my skateboarding's not good enough to stand by itself. It needs a narrative. Like I gotta tell the story, or it's just an old man falling down, you know. So
I like that you don't try to script it and it's just off the cuff, because that's
yeah,
like that's you can connect to that because you're like, oh, this is a real human. It's not someone just trying to market and sell me some bullshit. It's like
yeah,
this person's creating the content, you know, good, bad, and ugly, not just trying to get 1,000 subscribers or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah. So I've asked people like, man, like, why do you watch the channel? Because like I'm interested. And one guy put it best. He's like, it's kind of like sitting on the couch with a friend chilling. I was like, man, I'll take that all day.
Yeah.
Like I'll take that because like I'm not a fucking great skater. Like this is just me having a good time. And I'm not the best video maker. So like, man, I'm interested in why people have connected. Like it's not a huge channel, 2,000 subscribers, but you know as well as I know, what does 2,000 mean? 25%, right? You really have 25% of whatever your subscriber count is at any given time because they come and they go, but the numbers stay, right?
Yeah.
So I think I've got like 500 ride or die homies at any given time. Dude, that's amazing. Like
that's a big that's a big audience. Like if you
right.
had 500 people in front of you, you'd be like, holy shit.
Oh shit, yeah. You know, so like, oh, people like, oh man, you got 2,000. I was like, oh no, I'm fortunate enough to believe that over a period of 4 years, 2,000 people have felt inspired enough to hit the subscribe button. But at any given day, I'll tell you, there's 500 awesome people out there that are interested.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been thinking about that a lot just because I've been looking at those videos of the metaverse, which is a whole rabbit hole in itself. But I was like, whoa, if you could actually put on a headset and be in the room with the people that actually listen to your show, like you'd have an audience like a comedian does of like 100, 200, 500 people. That would make it feel intense compared to like there's a little bit of a lag. It is how it is now. So
it'd be intimidating. Like
yeah.
I've done one live video where I just kind of sat down. I called it, you know, I don't know, beer and skate chat or something. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't advertise it. I just went, I'm going live, and I cracked a beer. And over a 1 hour period, there was at least always 15 to 20 people in the room. That was a lot to keep up with, just 15 or 20 people, like, because I'm trying to look at all their questions or engage what they're interested in. And 15 to 20 people over an hour period of cycling in and out, it was a lot, you know. And like, man, so when people are like, oh man, 2,000 subscribers, I'm like, man, I'm just fortunate one person's interested, you know, like, who am I? You know, I'm just a regular dude.
It's cool to have something that you work on, that you have like a following and people are appreciating it, and it's not something you're like, it's not like you're dying to have a huge following. It's just you're creating something for yourself, and then you can connect with people that enjoy it.
I want people that are interested. Like I'm invested in a lot of channels, like those people as humans, and people that come to watch my channel, I hope they're coming for the human aspect of it and not the, if they come for the skateboard, they're gonna be highly disappointed, right? Like I've even said on my channel, like, hey, if you came for a great skateboard and you're on the wrong channel, like you gotta go somewhere else, you know.
I'm a weird person to say that to because I'm so obsessed with skateboarding to the point where like I've been injured lately and I'll just go to the park and watch people skate. Like, I don't even care how good someone is. Like I just like watching the struggle or the victories and every.
You should take the show on the road, right? Like go to the park and just interview like skaters of the session. Hey man, I've been watching for an hour and you're the skater of the session. Let's sit down and do some chats.
I thought about doing stuff like that in the past, like bringing it to the park and like doing like a live podcast with Westgate or Barley and have an audience there would be kind of crazy. Yeah.
Legends. So that's like, you're like, hey, you want to do the show? I was like, you know, you have like pro skaters on your show and I'm just some dude in North Carolina drinking beer, right? And you're like, yeah, that's cool. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, like, but so that I agree though that I like having people on that aren't like big high profile people because people have crazy stories, like, and that's just because like someone hasn't worked to get out, like you got to work to kind of be famous for the most part, like to get your name out there and stuff in skating. But like there's people that have such amazing stories that you'll never hear, and that kind of leads me to like first, how many kids do you have, and then tell me about how you got like introduced to the army, correct?
Yeah, I'm in the army. I don't know if I really got introduced to the army. So like just growing up, I grew up in San Diego, Navy, Marine town, never had any interest in that, but I had an interest in serving. I don't know why. Man, just as a kid, I'm like, army stuff's cool, like serving's cool.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy because I don't think that many kids think that nowadays.
So like I look at it from this point of view, like American history, right? If you look at American history, every 11 years in American history, there's a major conflict.
Yes.
And so, I was young teenager, not quite a teenager during the Gulf War. And I was like, oh man, that's pretty crazy. What if that shit happened again and I'm an adult? I got a choice, right? I can wait until that moment happens and I know I'm going to join. Like, that's who I am inherently as a human. I'm going to join if something happens, or I can join now in peacetime, which I joined in 96. I can join now and get trained, and hopefully I go as a leader and as a sergeant instead of a soldier, and have some skills. And that's exactly what happened. I joined in 96, and I found myself in Afghanistan in early 2002 as a sergeant, and 7 deployments later, I'm still alive. My knees still work a little bit. My back still works a little bit. Been fortunate to be a paratrooper 20 of 26 years of my career. So man, I get to go to work with humans, every one of them willing to jump out of an airplane. And that changes everything when you know every single person next to you is willing to jump out of an airplane. So,
How do you go to being a sergeant? Like, how do you start from signing up and then just get
like, so you just like anything, you sign up, you don't know anything. I think the secret to the Army when you first join is realize you don't know anything. Let's just talk about that first. Like, who should join, right? Skaters, most resilient people in the world. Like, here's a group of humans that get out there on their free time, try something over and over and over again, fail, minor correction, fail, minor correction, fail, minor correction, land. Most resilient people out there are these young skaters that know how to self-motivate, get out there and put in the sets and reps. They know how to train. They know how to almost develop a training plan. They just they can't put it into words. And then they reach their success, but they don't go, oh man, I got it, I'm done. They go, what's the next step? Like, what's the next step? Man, if we could get skaters to join the military, like, no one would beat us. We'd be fucking the greatest fucking force in the damn universe. And then, like, but who does join, right? People that join, 99% on the enlisted side, these are people that grew up in a rough neighborhood, rough family life, in a town with no real future in it, or they're following the wrong friends, or they're chasing the wrong things, and they know they need a change, but they don't know what that change is yet. But the military kind of signifies, like, man, I can get on a bus or a plane tomorrow and start change. I don't know where it's going to end up, but I can start it. This is the first step. And then they come in and they kind of get their basic training, kind of wash themselves of their old values and their old ways, kind of take on whatever service values that they join. Army's got the Army values. And if they integrate and they take that opportunity to actually make those changes, they can be super successful, make life-changing money, life-changing decisions. If they join and decide it's a social program and they're just going to be on welfare and they're just going to milk the system, they're not going to be successful, and they're probably going to go right back to the one thing that they were trying to get away from. And you'd be amazed. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of young service members that come in and they can't put the drugs down, they can't put the drinking down, and they end up going right back to what they were trying to get away from. And it's unfortunate. Others come here and put their head down and they just go to work for their minimum time, but you know what they walk away with? Fucking 4 years of college paid for anywhere. Like, they walk away with that in the GI Bill.
That's wild.
Others, they save their money, they put it away. Like, if you're single, you're getting a free place to live and every meal provided for. So every bit of money you make other than a cell phone bill could honestly go into savings. So if you did a 4-year contract and saved every penny and just said, I was broke before I joined the Army, I'm going to be broke in the Army with money in the bank. Do you know how easy it is to be broke with money in the bank and everything provided for you?
Yeah.
You could honestly do a 4-year contract and walk away with 60,000 cash in the bank.
That's like how like being a sponsored skater was for me.
Yeah.
They give us a van with a gas card, and like I had free shoes, free boards, like clothes, like everything, even my apartment was taken care of, and then I was just getting checks, so I was putting them in the bank.
Yeah.
Just
So
nice. That was my army.
yeah. So so it's kind of similar, right? So
A little bit.
once you join and you gain your skills and you figure out the job, and then you start to develop yourself as a leader, and hopefully you have good leaders above you that show you what right looks like. And you're also going to have a lot of leaders above you that don't show you what right looks like, and you learn just as much from them. And then you get an opportunity to go to, we call it promotion board, right? So the first 4 ranks kind of give me, you do your time, you don't get in trouble, you're getting those first 4 ranks. And that takes about 2 years, right? Right around that 3rd year, now you're eligible to be a sergeant. So you're going to go before promotion board. That's going in front of a guy like me, a battalion sergeant major, 4 of my first sergeants. You're going to come into a room, and we're going to ask you Army questions, and not job questions. Not like, oh man, tell me about operating a howitzer. Like, we're not going to ask you that. We're going to ask you, like, no kidding, big Army questions. You represent that you understand the Army and the policies and the resources out there, mostly that can help other young soldiers, because we have a lot of resources. We have substance abuse programs. We have family life programs for family counseling. There's so much out there to help every individual through their plan. And it's that sergeant's job to identify when someone needs a resource and how to get that soldier that resource. So once you prove that you're ready to lead soldiers, if you pass the board, that makes you eligible for promotion. Now you're going to go to a school, and we're going to train you. For that, we're going to do that for every rank from that point on: sergeant, staff sergeant, sergeant first class, master sergeant, sergeant major. You're going to a school. My school for sergeant major is 11 months long in El Paso, Texas. So we're going to train you in the school. And then once you graduate that school, now you're going to pin on the rank. And now it's time to perform, right? You got promoted for potential. Now it's time to meet that potential.
Yeah.
And then the process continues. But you can never be satisfied. You can never be like, oh man, I arrived, right? Imagine if you were a pro and you went to one contest and you rocked it, and they made you pro, and you're like, yep, I made it. And then you never put the same effort into another competition ever again.
I've seen that happen to a lot of people, that like they come out the gates hot, and then they feel like they arrived, and then it shows their motivation. They got what they wanted, and then they fall off because you're like, oh, you got that. People thought you were sick and epic, and that's what you were striving. It wasn't like something internally in you, you know.
No, my boss says the best. Like, no one cares about whose ass you used to kick. You know, like what are you doing now, right?
Yeah.
So you have to continue to go, and you're going to have to continue to prove yourself. I've been doing this for 26 years in February, and I just got back from a 5-day assessment to see if I'm the right type of human they want to lead at the next level. There's no more promotions in the sense of rank for me, but there's different jobs, and in the Army now, very human centric. Do we have the right humans going into the next positions? Man, I may not be the human that they're looking for. Like, that shit was hard. Like, it was a bunch of psychosomatic tests, you know, those like weird brain puzzles and things like that. Like, it was interesting. So, you know, you sit down with psychologists, you go to a board, you do the physical like fitness test. You do a lot of stuff. Man, so like when I meet a young staff sergeant with 5 years, and it's like, I'm a staff sergeant, I arrived. I'm like, man, I'm a sergeant major 26 years, and I don't feel like I've arrived yet. Like I just got skull drugged for 5 days, man. You know, so it's like, how did you make it? And I haven't made it yet. You know, so it's interesting. But I'll tell you what, like the skateboarding, it comes back to that for me, because I think it makes me more relatable to the younger soldiers. They don't just see me as like some staunch, you know, sergeant major's, you know, glass face. Like, they may see that at work, because like I'm going to be a professional at work, but they can also like log into the channel and be like, oh man, he is human. You know, he does fall. He does have to get back up. He does go through that process. So I think the ones that know that I skate, which most do, but the ones that look at the channel, I think they probably see me in a different light than the people that can't see past the position and rank. And I think that's important, you know?
Yeah. Whenever I meet someone who skates or used to skate, I feel like I'm a kindred spirit with them. Like they get the idea of like falling, getting back up, not
Yeah,
giving up, being creative, like just seeing value in something trivial, but then it means the whole world to you. Like just
yeah,
you feel like you connect. You're like, what? Like even I met someone today. I was like looking went to a dealership because I was looking for minivans because I want to take the skate team
hell yeah.
on more trips, you
All I
know?
need.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I want to put all the Groms in the van and go on lots of skate trips. So I was like looking at minivans and the dude was like telling me he used to like Toy Machine and stuff. And I
yeah,
was already like, I just started vibing with the dude. I'm
yeah,
like, oh, you used to skate? You get it. Like he was cool as hell, man. It's crazy how you can just not know someone and then instantly you know them
yeah.
somehow,
Dude, I've
Same.
met so many good people through this. Like,
Yeah.
again, I'm not a good skater and I don't live, that skate life. I'm probably the furthest thing from it, right?
Same.
But I've connected with you over this. Tim McKinney from Think. I'm sure you know
Legend,
Timmy, right?
legend, legend.
Timmy's been an awesome supporter of my skateboarding, which is crazy, right? Mowgli from, from Braille, but I met Mowgli in South Korea. He was out there street skating for a skate trip, and I was living out there, and like we just met. I didn't know who he was, and man, I was like, this is a great human, and we've become like friends over the last couple of years through that.
He was on your
Um,
channel, right? You
he
did
was like
some.
he took over my last video, so he got his
That's right.
he finally got his own board, right? So I skated his board, and instead of me doing the commentary on it, I sent it to him, and he sat in my seat and he did all the commentary for me skating his
That
board.
that's what it was. That's
So
awesome.
that was awesome. And then even yesterday, like I was, or 2 days ago, I don't remember what day it was. I was driving back from that assessment, and there's this guy, Michael Relevant. He lives in Kentucky. He does, I think, really well structured videos. Um, and I was like, hey, can we get a session? And he was like, yeah, we can do that. So I drove an hour from where I was to where he was before I drove home, and like we just kind of cruised around for a little bit and skated. And then we decided, like, okay, he does a lot of like 5 trick videos, like here's 5 easy tricks, or here's 5 interesting tricks, or he does a lot of videos like that. And like let's do 4 new tricks for a 44-year-old. And what I really respect about him is like he could have busted out a million hard tricks that I would have never landed, right? But he like understood my left and my right limit and like what was possible. And he came up with things that I hadn't done, still challenging, but within the realm of possibility. And we were able to get all 4 tricks and in a reasonably good amount of time. And none of them were incredibly hard, but I'd never done them. And they took thought process. And then that was interesting to him because he's been like you probably don't know how you do the tricks that you do. You've just been doing them for so long. If someone asks you how to do it, you're like, oh man, you just pop and flick it. I'm like, you got to put the weight on your left foot, slide over to your right toe, adjust your shoulders. Like I think about every single movement. And he was like, oh man, this is so different, because he would explain the trick and I would explain how I thought I was going to have to approach it because of it. And he's like, I would have never thought of the trick that way, but now that you say it, like it makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in skating that like I've noticed because I've overindulged in skating that it's automatic. So it's
Yeah,
like I don't really think about it that sense. The thing that helps me with that though is teaching skateboard lessons because then
yeah,
I start to like get back in that beginner's mindset
right,
mind frame again. So that helps a lot with that. But there is
yeah,
like there's times where someone will ask me like, how do you do that? And a lot of times I'm like, to be honest, like it's been so long since I've even thought
yeah,
about it. It's just muscle memory at some
right.
point. Yeah.
Plus, him and I, like, we make our videos alone with tripods. Like that's how we make our videos. And it was interesting, like for him to have a guest there that he was kind of like hosting and he had to interact with, and then like us seeing each other's lenses. Like, so he understood how I look at skating and skate videos, and I looked at how he looked at it, and we were able to vibe off each other. And he made his video already. I haven't had a chance to sit down and edit mine, but I think his video like turned out really good, and it was awesome to be part of it. And again, another connection. And me and this guy have nothing in common. Like he's a UK graduate with an art degree who skates and does videography, and he also has a video camera channel as well. Like he's super smart into that stuff. man, I would love to do that stuff. My life doesn't permit it. But like skateboarding like brings these people from totally different cultures and totally different interests. We would never talk probably for any other reason, but skateboarding creates that common ground that allows us to go out there and have a good time, you know?
Yeah, thank God, man. That's like for me, skateboarding has been the best thing that skateboarding has done for me is give me a sense of community, and I've met so many rad people that just love the same thing you love, and it's like it opens up you to uh so many people that are just dedicated to something,
Yeah.
you know, and it just connects you instantly, which is unbelievable. It's
And
like,
that's like why the YouTube thing is, I think, important to a lot of us, is it connects you like globally with skaters,
yeah.
you know, like
It
I'm a
can. It can.
like,
For some
yeah,
people, it's just kind of like superficial, but like if
yeah.
you're using it right, like which you are from what I can see and seeing how you're like connecting with people around you, and it's like you're using it as a way to connect to humans and build a community and
Because
talk to
because
each other.
I don't have peers that are doing this. Like there's not, my community doesn't have an old man skate crew um doing those type of things. I don't know those people, right? So how do I connect with people? It's through sharing my skating in the videos and then being engaged and invested in other people's. Like I don't know if you've checked out this new group that's coming up. It's called Another Skateboarding Channel.
I
So
I
this is
was looking at some of the links you sent me, dude. I
right.
checked them out a little bit. I
So
have,
another, that's a dude. You got an English dude in the UK. You've got a Twitchy and Son down in Australia, and then they'll have like a guest on from Scotland or the US or whatever. And like that whole little tiny channel is doing so much for small skateboarding. It's crazy. Like they'll go find people sponsor me tapes and then they'll throw them up there and be like, oh, let's watch these 3 sponsor me tapes. Man, that guy was doing this or that guy was doing X, or they'll bring that dude on for an interview. They'll they have a one show called So Bored where they just kind of watch other people's channels. Like, man, how does this guy have 32 subscribers and he's just absolutely crushing it, right?
that's
And
sick.
the real answer to that though is if you're only posting your tricks like an Instagram or a skate video with only your tricks with no personality, you're no different than every other great skater out there.
Yeah.
Like you've seen it on teams. You can be the most talented skater in the world, but if you don't have a personality that clicks and vibes with the rest of the team, you're not going to make it. And you're probably not going to even get looked at for sponsorship if you don't have the type of personality that they're looking for to vibe with that team. So like personality matters, man. I don't care how good you are. There's a million 12-year-olds across the nation that can do tricks that you and I cannot even believe.
Yeah.
But if they don't have the character and personality to connect with the people, they're just going to be another great skater that went unknown.
Yeah, it's just tricks are just tricks unless there's some depth behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that real early on because like I've talked to you before about how I grew up like broken family stuff and just like I realized like going on because I had a lot of emotional issues and things I was dealing with growing up. And I believe like people ask me like, do you think you're like naturally talented? And I think about it. I'm like, I kind of do, but I think my family upbringing like fucked me up to the point where I couldn't like just practice my craft in peace and have safety,
Yeah.
you know? So
But
like,
it became like a resilient thing. Like, I'm going to do this. Like you muscled your way to success. Like, okay, everything else is going to suck. Guess what's not going to suck? This
yeah,
motherfucking trick is not going to suck.
yeah. And
You know?
it's weird because like when I am when I feel good and I'm in a good space, I can learn things like it feels natural, you know, but
Yeah.
like most of my upbringing wasn't like that. It was a lot of
Yeah.
like using skating as a way to escape and kind of a way just to show my emotions and get
Yeah.
things out, you know? So like, I don't know where I was going with that, but, yeah, like to me, like that's what's really helped me a lot with skating is just being able to, put my energy and life into it and connect, and everyone has access to that. Like just
Yeah.
it's amazing how many people are out there. Like you sent that link of it's Nessa, right?
Dude, Nessa's amazing. So
Dude,
she's a 34-year-old Canadian woman who skates harder than anybody on YouTube.
I
Like
like that she doesn't just take the first scrap she gets. She
no,
keeps going. She's like
dude,
wants to get it right, you know?
she's a grinder, and she's not like I'm gonna do one trick. Like she's always working on lines, and not, I don't think enough YouTube people do that, but she's always trying to get like a solid line, and she's always breaking. And I don't know if you noticed when you watched her, like when she pops, she floats over her board better than like anybody I've ever seen. Like she gets her knees up, like almost in a JK's way. Like she gets her knees up, and like the board just, it's just there every time for her. I'm sure she has her struggles and her slams, but she shares those as well. And she's got a great little community up there. Her homie B that she's always skating with is incredibly talented as well.
Was that the other girl? I watched the video. Yeah, she was hilarious. That's what I like. She was cracking me up, and she was ripping too.
Dude, they're awesome. They've got a little company going called Only One Skate. I don't know who runs it, but she's skating for them. But like, find me another 34-year-old woman skating that's not a pro that's putting in that kind of work. I've never seen it. Like she is just phenomenal, and she's been grinding, and she's super talented. She's so good. Every time I learned how to do heel flips like watching her videos. So I was trying to do heel flips, and I was having this trouble. It was always landing in front of me on the bank, right in front of me, just right out of my reach, right at my toes, right. And I was watching one of her videos, and her and B were carving this bank, and they were doing heel flips and going down the bank. And I was like, man, what if I carve into it on this bank a little bit, not enough to carve and go down, just a little bit, and that's going to bring my body weight forward and land on the board. And like, I was able to get it. And then I just self-corrected it back. Once I knew how to do that, then I self-corrected it back so I could come straight back fakie. But it's like, just watching how she approached it, I was like, oh man, I can get it. I can get it if I just take that little approach, you know. And that's a lot of reason I watch a lot of these channels. Like, I'm trying to learn from them as much as enjoy their skating. Like, okay, how'd they do that? And I want to know.
That's another aspect of skating that's amazing, is you can watch someone else go through it, and you can kind of pay attention and see like how it's done, see the process, and then you can take it and try to add your own twist and style to it. I did that a lot growing up, like being on the East Coast and just stuck inside and looking through magazines and videos and just studying everything, and then like go sleeping and trying to like get it, like thinking about it all night long, and then you're like, I'm gonna just give it a go, and then it works in time, you know.
I think some of my frustration in filming, when people film, is they film their board in their feet. Like, skateboarding doesn't happen in your feet. Skateboarding happens in your shoulders. So when people don't show their shoulders, I can't figure out how they're approaching the line, like how they're getting set, and then what are they doing once they're on the board. If you're just showing me your feet and the board, I can't learn anything. You know? So it's crazy. Like, skateboarding starts here, you know, and people always think it's the feet, you know.
When I teach skateboard lessons, it's a lot of times like people don't know what to do with their shoulders. They're like, their bodies are sideways, but their shoulders are the opposite way. And I'm like, well, you got to be like kind of parallel, and you got to be able to use your toes and heels. And it's weird too with skating, because like you want to learn your center of balance with your push. So you want to lean into that front foot and get that center when you're going straight with your vehicle. But then once you're riding, you want to adjust and turn your body and shoulders sideways so you can carve with the toes and heels. And it's like, sometimes for people, that's a hard concept to go from their push to riding where they can carve with toes and heels. Like, I always try to equate it to like when I talk to little kids and people I do lessons with, I'm like, it's your vehicle. So like, you got to get a good foundation, get a strong push, and then you got to learn to ride, and you got to be able to turn it with your toes and heels, carve. And then also, don't forget, if you're going up a wall, it's a car. You wouldn't go in a car in reverse without looking behind you, because that's what a lot of people do when they go up a wall or something. They go up a wall, and then they forget to look behind them, and their bodies, their shoulders and their body are still facing up the wall. And I'm like, no, if you went in a car, you got to turn your shoulders and look behind. And they usually get it. It takes a little I love lessons for that, because I have to rethink about it, and then I have to figure out the right words to connect. And every person's different and how they absorb information. And with that,
like, I skate a lot. I like to skate bowls. I don't skate them as much as I should. That's really all I should skate at my age, honestly. But I say that street dreams for some stupid reason. But
it's so fun. That's why.
But I meet people that they can skate a mini ramp and they can't figure out how to keep speed in a bowl. I'm like, take your mini ramp, or curve my hands. Take your mini ramp, right, and turn it on its side. it's still a transition to a flat transition where you would normally pump, straighten your legs, bend your legs, straighten your legs, right? Turn that ramp on its side, and that's use the walls of the bowl the same way you would use the mini ramp. And once they understand that, they start to generate the speed and understand. But that's all it is, you know?
Yeah. Like that kind of leads me to like being a sergeant and stuff. I imagine you're like communicating and teaching and stuff like that. Have you ever done skateboard lessons too?
No, I haven't done any skateboard lessons. Like I'm very, I understand my capabilities and limitations, right? I can't kick flip, right? I can only heel flip. Like, I don't think I should tell anybody how to do anything till the least I can land a kick flip. But when it comes to an ollie, people do ask me a lot of times. I mean, a lot of older skaters getting into it, or kids, like, how do you ollie? Here's my problem with the way the ollie's taught, right? They teach us tilt the board up and then slide your foot, and as you jump, right? They get so fixated on their front foot that they start actually forcing the board down before it pops.
Yeah.
So I tell people, forget about your front foot. I don't care about your front foot. I want you to focus on the pop and the jump and the timing. I guarantee the board's going to come up and hit your front foot.
Yeah.
So once you get used to that, then you can start to make it a little more stylish and slide the front foot up and do those other things. But right now, let's just pop and jump, and I guarantee you that board's going to come up and hit your front foot every time. So I just tell them to focus on that. And then I think the only other trick, the first trick I always recommend to everybody is fakie shove it. I think if you're just getting into skateboarding, like, it's going to feel like you're skateboarding, it's going to look like you're skateboarding, you're going to feel like it's something, and it's the easiest trick in the world because the board's traveling the same direction you're traveling. You just have to have enough confidence to give a little scoop and jump up just enough to let your momentum, carry you over and bring you back down on the board. And I think, like, fakie shoves, like, it looks cool. It's a good trick,
It's fun,
and it doesn't take much to learn it. And then lately, I've been learning a lot of like slappy nose slides. And I had one person like, man, how do you do that? I was like, people tell you just go fast and slam your nose into it, and you're like, man, that can't be it. And it really is. I think the only difference is it's not that 90-degree slam, it's more like an 80-degree slam. So then your momentum can carry you to the 90 and then slide. But man, I've been having fun with those. Having a little trouble still mastering the front side slappy nose slide. My heel tends to go down a lot and turn into a break. If I could just figure out how to turn into it and stand up tall without slamming my heel down, I think I would be good. But I keep putting the brake on with the heel.
It's in your other foot, that's why.
Yeah.
So you got it front side, right?
Yeah, front side slide. So I'm sliding backwards.
So on a frontside nose slide, you got to make sure your toes, when you pop the board, your front foot, your toes land on the nose so that you can push through it, but you're really pushing with your back foot almost on the side of the tail.
Really?
And you're pushing it through, and you're kind of like, and then your exit plan is just in your shoulders, but you got to learn how to get it in there and then muscle it and push it with that back foot so it keeps that slide even. Because your front foot's going to lock it in. If your toes are on it, your toes will be in there. If you get your toes right in the middle of the nose, it's going to put the pressure in it and it'll start sliding. It might slide too fast, but if you push with your back foot, it'll keep up with it. Man, which is hard.
Think about my back foot on it.
Yeah, that dude, your back. If you look at the best frontside nose photos you can find, like see Carl Watson, who else got it? Moses Ikonen, a Canadian. You can see their back foot. They're pushing the board along. They lock in that front nose, and then that back foot is almost on the side of the tail, pushing it, which is like, I paid attention to that, and I learned front nose is one that I have to relearn. Like, when I practice it, I can get it easy. Like, I can get it and lock it in and have it. But if I don't keep up with it, it disappears, and I got to relearn it every time,
I get lucky with them every now and then, but I haven't figured it out because it's not solid yet.
Back foot, fuck around with the back foot. Think about once you lock it in that you're pushing it with the back foot, it'll guide.
I'm gonna check out some videos for sure. It's never been mentioned in tutorials, so I think I need to go watch the good dudes and see how they're doing it.
Yeah,
and then nose grind is like, that's the next on my list. Like, I've been throwing around nose grinds here and there. Oh man, it's getting so close. Like, when it just feels so good and it just goes bad at the last part. Like, that's where I'm at with it. And like when I first started doing them, I was jamming the nose all the way to it and sliding them. But now I'm locking them in at a balance point, and I'm not, just on the truck, not on the nose of the board.
What are we doing it on? A curb or a rail?
I'm doing it on a box. Yeah, essentially
Box,
a curb.
A ledge.
Yeah. And man, like I'm landing them locked in, and I'm getting the grind, but then I'm losing at the last minute because I don't have the. I'm so surprised every time I do land correctly and lock it in that I'm not ready to pop it out. So I'm just kind of riding it until it falls.
Yeah.
So I think I just got to get that confidence, that feeling of I'm going to land it correctly, be ready for the pop out.
That just takes time. Like the more you practice, the faster you'll lock it in, the more you'll be able to like push through it more. But that's just all that is like
sets and reps.
Yeah, reps, because then you'll know it's not going to do what you think it's going to do. It just slip out every try. Like I used to do that with frontside nose slides too. I'm like, this is just going to slide off.
If I could do nose grinds and like crooks, I don't know if I'd do any other trick. Like that's just like that's so fun,
I do. Crooked grinds. Like I remember when I first learned them, it was like my truck. My goal was to like break my truck through having a crooked grind mark on it, and I did it. Like it's the best. It's the best.
I think crooked grind is like the best looking trick in the world. So I have like weird like, I think these are the best tricks. I think crooked grind is the best grind. I think like over a hip, like a good like 180 or a good 360 shove or something over a hip where like a flat where your board's spinning flat.
Yeah.
Or you're spinning flat, like over a hip, I think looks way better than any flip trick in the world. When people just kind of floating it through there. And then Smith in the bowl, like when someone goes out and carves the pocket of a bowl at a Smith, you're just like, oh man, you're so talented. Like that looks so good.
Yeah, Smith grinds are unbelievable too.
Yeah.
Especially
so I think feeble on a rail, Smith in a bowl. Like that's like those would be my choices on slides.
Yeah. One of my favorite tricks going back to crook grinds is nollie crook. I like fell in love with nollie crook. So once I learned crook grinds, and then it was like nollie crook is just like it's like
nollie crook almost makes more sense, right? Because you're kind of putting yourself into that position right off the bat. You're not trying to move the board 180. You're just trying to move it 90.
Once you get the nollie and you start to like figure out how to position that into the crook, it works exactly like that. It's like, whoa.
So like I'm still at that point, like I can do nollies, baby ones, and I can do fake ollies, good ones, but when I approach an obstacle with any of those tricks, my timing is shot. It's like a whole new trick the minute there's any obstacle at all involved. It's like, why can't I do this the minute I add one thing? Which is strange for my skateboarding because I suck at flat ground. Number one, I don't put the effort into it. Of course I suck at it because I don't practice it, right? Every trick I've ever learned, I've learned on an obstacle. Like I didn't learn heel flip on flat. I learned heel flip on bank. Like I didn't learn manuals. I learned 5-0s, grinds. Like I like to learn everything on an obstacle. And I think I'm focused more on the obstacle and what's going to happen next, that I'm not so wrapped up in the trick. And when I try flat ground, I'm just so involved in the trick. You just over and over and over and over again that you just get in your own head. But if I'm thinking about the box and everything else, thinking about more things stops me from kind of spiraling on one thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, totally. A lot of skating's like that.
Yeah.
Just trying to distract yourself to like let it happen. Because a lot of times it's a mind game and you you kind of freak yourself out of it, or I can't tell you how many times I've done this and I've watched people do this, is where they could land the trick every try, but they just stuck in a bail repeat. They're like bail, and it's just their mind not letting them do it. And I'm like, dude, just take the slam. I tell myself that. I'm like, just fucking eat shit at this point. Like, you're gonna land it. Like, just do what you're afraid to do,
Yeah.
and then you end up doing it, and you're like, oh, why was I so afraid? you
Yeah,
know, like,
I think
fuck.
like, and like just the knowing you can do, especially like once you can do it, you can do it. You had Manny Santiago on your show, right? So he's
Couple times. Manny's the
so
man.
here's what I say about Manny. Like, is Manny my favorite skateboarder? No. Is Manny one of my favorite humans that skateboards? Yes. I think he's an amazing human. And he was talking about how he went out and got all these hard tricks, and then he got all the footage stolen and he had to go back and do them. And he did, like, because he believed he could get him. He had done them before, and like there was no question in that man's confidence that he could knock out every one of those tricks. And so he just went back and got him again. Like, oh man, no, we're not going to stress it. We're not going to freak out. We're just going to go back tomorrow and we're going to do it. Man,
that blew my
that is
mind when he
amazing.
was telling me that. I was
Yeah.
like, "That's fucking." I would be devastated.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. You know, but like he was able to do it because he honestly believed he could.
Man,
you
he
know?
believes
Like,
he can fly. He believes he
yeah.
can fly. The man.
So awesome. Like, honestly, one of my favorite humans that skates. Like when I listen to him talk and I see what he does in his community, man, just an awesome dude. Like, the only pro I really follow is Jake Hayes. Like, I've never seen anyone with so much pop
Wait,
in my
who's that?
life.
JK?
Yeah, Jake Hayes. He drives.
Jake. Yeah.
He drives for Death Wish.
Death Wish, yeah.
So like, here's a funny story. I'm following this dude on Instagram. Like, God, man, it's so good. And I'm like following him for like 9 months before I realized he's a pro skater. Like, I just thought he was just a rad dude who skated, right? And I was like, oh shit, I didn't know. Like, I felt funny. I was laughing at myself. But he's super talented. Like he's his pop.
Yeah.
No one gets their knees up like that. Like, it's so crazy.
It's amazing when you can watch someone who's
Yeah.
like dedicated so much time to skating, and you see them come into like the point where they feel like they can do anything on a board.
Yeah.
And like watching his parts is like, you're like, whoa, this dude's like really
insane.
he can do anything at this point. Like,
Yeah.
I remember that point when I had that, like, skating. There was a point when I was like riding for Zoo York and World Industries, and I was just like at the top of my skating. And the same thing, it's just like, take me to the spot. Yeah, take me to the spot. Like, we're gonna figure out, here's what I can do, and I know I can do it bigger or gnarlier or faster or further. And I love watching people get to that. Yeah. It's crazy with skating, because it's like that was something that drove me as a kid. I was like, I wanted to avoid all responsibility so I could focus on skating and take it as far as I could imagine it could go. My own skating, you know? And I love watching that in someone, is like when they have the ability and they don't take it for granted, and they go to all these amazing places across the world, and they have sponsors supporting them, and they just film these video parts where you're like, yeah, that was their dream, was to create that. Like, that's what I love about skating. And Jake and those dudes, like, there's a lot of dudes that ride for companies that it blows my mind. Like,
I think New Balance as a whole is like built a pretty solid team of just good humans. Like, all these guys, Jamie Foy, Jake Hayes, those type of skaters, like, those are the people like I'm interested in as humans and skaters. But I have trouble connecting to like new professionals. Like, all the great skaters I think of, like, I automatically go to the 80s, like, automatically. Like, Lance Mountain, most well-rounded skater of all time, will never get credit for it. Like, street, vert, like, whatever, bowl, like, Lance is super well-rounded. I just want to skate. If you're like, oh man, what's your end result? I want to skate as good as Lance Mountain did in the 80s. like you know, like, that would be enough. Like, I can just go cruise any street and just have a good time anywhere in America and just with style roll away. Like, man, that would be success at the end of the day. Like, I skate a bunch of parks because it's embarrassing going to a street spot as a 44-year-old and people are like, man, what are you doing? Like, you know, like, I'm skateboarding. Like, why are you doing that? Man, that's a good question. So I was in El Paso skating elementary school, and the cop pulled up. He's like, hey. I was like, what's up? And he like gets closer. He's like, hey, sir. What are you doing? I was like, I'm just trying to get some tricks. He's like, okay. He's like, how old are you? I was, I think, 42 at the time. I was like, oh, 42. He's like, okay, just be safe. I was like, all right, but like the the closer he got to me, like the whole conversation changed. It's like, what is this old man doing? Super
I
funny.
get it, dude. I deal with that because I have a skateboard team and they're all younger than me,
Yeah.
and I still try to street skate a little bit, not as gnarly as I used to, but
Yeah.
like they get me out in the streets and like we're getting kicked out, and I'm the one dude who's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll leave. I don't want to
Yeah.
get in trouble,
Yeah.
and they're all
Right.
like, fuck that, we're staying, we're trying to get this. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, good luck, dude. I'm gonna walk around the
Yeah.
block. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure. So funny.
Showing my age.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I view the park as like the training ground for the street. But then like, man, you learn some valuable lessons. Like 50/50 is like one trick I always had. And then the first time I took it to the streets, I was like, oh my God, this isn't this curb wasn't built for this. Like I've got to you have to learn the obstacle as much as you have to learn the trick,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I was in South Korea, I didn't progress very much in that year in South Korea, but I skated my ass off. But I went to a different park almost every Saturday. So I had to learn the park. So I had like what I called my traveling tricks. Like, here's the 5 tricks I know I have. And I'm going to try and find a way to get those tricks because I want to skate while I'm at the park. I don't want to just sit in one spot and learn one damn thing. Right. So I would just take my 5 tricks and just try and learn them on different obstacles. And that was super challenging. And then I always try and find the one thing at every park, no matter how similar it looks, always has one thing that's different, makes it unique. And I always try and find that one aspect of whatever park I'm at that makes it different. I don't care how crap it is. I want to skate the one thing that's different at every park. But
Yeah.
but I think since I've been back here in North Carolina, we only have one park. Like we have one park in our entire city. It's a pretty big city, and it just opened up as the country shut down for COVID in early 2020. That's when the park opened, and it's a team paint park. It's super nice. This is the first time I've had consistent time at one park since I started skating, and now I'm starting to actually see some progression because I'm not just wrapped up in traveling and learning the park. I'm trying to work on my skating. So I think this year is probably my best year of skating by far for any type of progression.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's nice to have a home turf where the ramps and you can learn all the basics and you can like figure out your environment and you can start to like that's really crucial. Like growing up I had like it used to be Skaters Island was like my home park, and I'd go there to skate every day and all day, and I'd learn so many tricks, and then it turned into Skaters Edge, which I still live near. And that's like my place where I go, and it's like they have every ramp and I can learn. I can just like get comfortable and know that park inside and out. And then you go to all these, then as you travel and you go all the different parks, you start to see similarities and things, and it's like yeah.
But every curve and every bank, like everything has its own personality. Like it's like, oh yeah, I can do this trick, and then you go on that curve, like, oh man, that curve's different. Like, let me figure this one out.
I definitely love that aspect of street skating, like you were talking about, how everything's different and you have to kind of learn how to adapt to the spot instead of like having a perfect skate park and being like, you just know everything's perfect. Going to a street spot and like it not being perfect and you having to find the trick that fits that spot is like the best fucking feeling in the world.
Have you read that book? Man, what's it called? Skateboarding Architecture, the Body and the City, something like that. It's super long title, but it was written by, it's super good. It's real like intellectual book, but it's written by an architect. And the architect is talking about how like skateboarders like see everything so differently. Like when they built whatever they built, a building, a parking garage, whatever it is, like they did not see it in the eyes of the skateboarder. So like this architect goes out and he follows skaters to see how they see things that other people built. And it's an amazing book that talks about how, just how it all comes together and it all connects, but different lenses see things differently. I don't know. It's hard to explain, Really
No, but
smart book.
that makes
Really
perfect
good.
sense to me because
Yeah.
like growing up as a skater, I've always looked at all these things in the cities and you
Yeah.
just vision what you can do on it. Now, not what it was designed for the public, but what
Right.
you could create or do on it. Like
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. That's kind of cool that someone wrote that.
Yeah.
I'd definitely
I'll
like to
send you the
check it
link.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on Amazon. I think he's got a couple of YouTube videos where the author talks about it like in seminar, but super, super interesting. Uh Man. There's a couple good books. Have you read Rodney Mullen's Mutt, How to Skateboard Without Killing Yourself?
No, no,
So that's
I don't
his,
think I've ever read like a skateboarding
yeah.
book. I've seen they've been popping up though.
So that's his biography. I read it years ago, and it like people are like, oh, skateboard without killing yourself, like not get hurt. No, it was all about like the emotional shit he went through with his dad not wanting him to skate, having to quit skating and coming back to skating, and the rise and fall of world industries. Like all of that's in there. 100% worth reading, and it's short read, easy read, but definitely worth reading. You know,
Yeah.
like especially so connected to world as you are, like, yeah, I think you'd find it interesting as shit.
Yeah, definitely. I probably
you,
should have read it by now.
you need to hit those dudes up. Like, we need the man that sold the world graphic. Like, they need to re-release that one. The
Oh
fucking
no.
Rocco face with the fucking with the
That's
army behind it.
yeah, that one's sick.
Just such a classic graphic. That movie, that documentary, phenomenal. Like, so that's when I quit skating. I stopped skating as World was coming in, and they had killed the Big Five, right? Because I grew up in the '80s, like
Yeah.
GNS, Kyle Peralta, Vision, like that was what was great to me. And then all of a sudden, World came in and like made them look like little cartoons and worthless, and like threw them in the trash. And then like skaters went like hard, like especially in San Diego, like skating transitioned real quick. And I was like, man, I don't fit in anymore. Like, I'm not good enough. Like, these dudes, we went from like, oh, let's build a launch ramp to you got to go down this 12 stair. No, I don't. Like, I'm not doing that. So like, that's when I transitioned out of skateboarding, as wheels got small, pants got big, and like skaters went hard in the 90s. But then when I came back into skating, like going and watching that movie, that documentary, and seeing from that perspective, I was like, yeah, that is definitely the growth of skateboarding, and the part that I missed in the transition, and what has essentially made skateboarding what it is now. All stems from that small piece of history. Super interesting.
Yeah, man. That's when I got into skating. It
Yeah.
was like the 90s and World Industries and Flame Boy and Wet Willie, and like
Yeah.
that's what attracted me initially, was right then, right when you left off, I picked up, like started with it. It's just crazy to think.
So like GNS still makes some boards, but they don't release them very often. And I'm a big GNS fan. That was a San Diego company, Gordon Smith Surf, and then their boards like Neil Blender, like Willie, like tons of Chris Miller. Like Chris
Yeah,
Miller's probably my
amazing.
favorite
Amazing.
vert skater of all time, bull rider. But I was able to pick up one of their reissues they just put out of the Neil Blender Faces board, but they call it an '80s modified. So they took the '80s shape, but then they gave it a true nose, pulled the front bolts back a little bit so you have a real nose to slide on, gave it some shape and some concave. And I'm probably going to set that one up here pretty soon. But like, I'm stoked to have like an old school GNS Neil Blender board, because man, that's rad.
I feel like Neil Blender, I feel like Donnie Barley did like a tribute graphic on Birdhouse. It was like a guy holding like a coffee cup.
Yeah, that's the coffee cup that's the blender. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Original OG GNS graphic, the blender coffee. Yeah, I've got that on a shirt bought from GNS.
That graphic's sick, dude.
Yeah. So like, have you like, do you know who Neil Blender is? Have you watched any of his like old clips?
I mean, I've watched it, but I'm not probably as connected as you or Barley are.
It's just like a rad like vert skater, but when vert was going down, like he transitioned to street, like, man, and he went hard. Like, he was ahead of his time, but he's way more of an artist than a skater. Like, you don't see him doing interviews and living off his skating or anything. Like, he's fully invested in art now. But there's a famous clip you can find on YouTube in the middle of a competition. Like, he stops his run and he goes up to this to this wood wall, and he pulls out spray can or marker, I forget which one, and he just fucking does an art like project right there on the wall in the middle of his run. He's like, boom, motherfuckers. Like, it rolled out, just legend.
Yeah,
But
that's
like,
epic.
but like, it is, for me, it is the Vallely's, it is the Neil Blenders, and of course there's Rodney. Like, I'll never relate to Rodney, but I can respect the shit out of Rodney. Like, that dude just invented the world. And then like Tony, people can rag on Tony, but like any sponsored skater in the world that's ever been sponsored a day in their life should, like, hey, thanks Tony. Like, he opened the door to make a living, like a true living out of skateboarding. Like, he's done more for skaters, I think, than a lot of people realize. And the current generation only know him like, oh, Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Like, that's why he's famous. No,
That blows
man.
my mind.
That dude's been famous. I grew up in San Diego. My daughter's name is Torrey Pines. He went to Torrey Pines High School, right? Like, we're like same neighborhood type thing. He's been famous my entire life. And I'm 46. Now, he was Tony Hawk, he was pro. What did that mean? He got a $1 board, not a big deal, but like, then all of a sudden he had a house, and then he had this, and then he had that, then he lost it all, but he kept skating. Then he had a birdhouse. Like, this dude's been grinding in skateboarding from my earliest 1980s skateboard memories. I can't say that about anybody else other than Caballero.
Yeah. I'm eternally grateful to Tony Hawk, because I literally went from like the projects to traveling the world because of Tony Hawk.
Yeah, did you am for Birdhouse for a little bit?
Yeah, Donnie Barley reached out to me because he's from the East Coast, and he's just like, hey, Birdhouse is looking for an amateur from the East Coast. You're the guy. I'm like, well, let's do it, dude.
Let's do that, yeah.
And then
it's
like
so
my whole life, like my dream came true right there, because I got basically
that was your first big call was to Birdhouse?
I mean, I rode for Fibro before, which was amazing, but it was kind of like it was small. Fibro wasn't what it is today. And it was just like, they took me, I was like flow trash, and they helped like build me up and build my name. But Birdhouse was like, you're traveling with Tony Hawk, they're paying for everything. I like get to actually just focus 100% on my skating. I didn't have to work. And like,
hello, sir. I'm here to do work.
Yeah, and I was exactly my attitude, which kind of like people kind of get like some of my peers were like, oh, talking shit, because all I did was focus on, I had my eyes on the prize. But it's like, I grew up in the projects, I had all these issues. I'm like, I'm not here to like become cool with you guys. Like, if we become friends, cool, but I'm here to like live my dream. Like, I want to get in magazines, I want to get in videos, I want to like earn this. Like, I didn't want to just be like, I'm the shit now that I'm sponsored. I wanted to be like,
what's the next step?
Yeah, like, let's keep going. Like, this is like, I don't want it could go away. Like, I want to make sure I earned it and we build the future, instead of just feeling like I'm the shit and like become part of the club. There was like that vibe when I was in California a little bit. It was like, there was like a club you could get in if you just acted. That's where the personality side went a little weird, because I'm always a dude who loves people that have like a character and a personality, because I think tricks are just tricks, and if you have a character, it makes it way more in depth and means a lot. But
for sure,
there's also the other side of that, where it's like all you are is personality and you neglect your skating.
Right.
That happens sometimes. Like in California when I was younger, they have perfect weather all the time, and dudes would just all hang out.
72 degrees year round.
Yeah, and it was just like, it was like high school. It was like everyone's in cliques, and it was like the skating was like kind of blasé. And to me, I was like, I don't want to be like that. I want to like, I'd rather be by myself than get in a clique and just like rely on my
you can get comfortable, right? Like, and I think that's the risk with any profession. I don't care what you do. The minute you're comfortable, you're missing the boat. Like you should be uncomfortable at all times. That's when you know you're probably on the right path of getting it right. I'll give you an example. I had a young NCO that worked for me a couple of years ago, and when I was leaving, he's like, man, I bet you're glad you don't have to deal with me anymore. I was like, no, man, dude, I love you. Like, he's like, you're always giving me shit. Like, you're always correcting me all this. I was like, because you're working your ass off. You're giving me the most to work with. There's plenty of people here that are doing nothing. Like, I can't offer them any coaching. I can't offer them any next level shit because they're not giving me the basics. I said, you gave me something every day to work with, and you took the coaching and you progressed with that coaching. So I just kept giving it. I was like, man, I'm grateful for my opportunity to work with you. And he was like, man, I never would have thought of it that way. I thought you were just constantly in my shit. I was like, no, I was constantly there because you were constantly putting in work. You're like, I'm gonna be where the work's at, man.
That's so true, man. That's awesome. That's so true. I was kind of getting at that earlier. I was like wondering with the Army if you had to like kind of mentor and walk people.
It is. It's all mentorship. Like, man, like take look at some of these team managers, right? You get some team managers in skate teams that are like, yeah, guys, do whatever you want. And you got the guys that are like Stacy Peralta with Bones Brigade. Okay, come in, let's talk about it. Like, what are we trying to do? What do we want to do? What's the next level? Like, how can I help you reach your goals, right? So here's what we have to do for the team. Understand that. But also, like, that doesn't mean you sacrifice yourself. Like, how can we be a win-win for the team and you? And that's kind of like what being a good leader in the Army is like. Like, we got an Army mission. We have to do these things. They're like, this is our contract with America. We're going to do X. But what do you need in the process too? If we can facilitate both, we're going to facilitate both to the best of our ability. Is it always going to work out? It's not. Like, at the end of the day, the Army's going to win. But if we can get you one step closer, 2 steps closer, or whatever to what you need, or we think's best to get you progressing for the future Army, then that's what we're going to do. You know, so it's I spend like in any given day, I'm not going to tell you how many hours it is, but it's a lot. I would tell you 90% of my time is dealing with individual personalities, either on the growth they're doing, which is great, the growth they need to do, or where they're just missing the mark. And then the other 10% is like, here's the no shit requirements that we need to get right. Now, it's funny, right? That what we have to get right is the most important thing in the Army. Like, we have to get these things right. But I'm spending 90% of my time with the individual people that get those things right.
Yeah.
You know, because like it's a people organization. Like Air Force and Navy, right? They spend billions of dollars on expensive airplanes and ships and things that, like, those pieces of equipment do the job, and like some nugger, you know, behind some panels operating it, right? My organization's paratroopers, like, they are the equipment, they are the brain, they are the human. Like, they've got everything they're going to hit the ground with, they're jumping out of an airplane with it. They're going to find other people with the right skill set on the drop zone to come together. And we call it LGOPs, little groups of paratroopers. You got a radio, a leader, and a heavy weapon. You can accomplish a lot of shit if everybody knows the plan. So, like, everyone's accountable because you don't know who you're going to land next to, and you better be ready because you guys are going to go do shit and you're going to go do it right. And there's no exception to the rule. So it's awesome.
It's crazy how much that just translates into normal life, especially nowadays, dude, when there's recessions and pandemics and everyone's playing these weird games, and it's like you really need to know yourself so well.
Yeah.
And then those around you, you gotta kind of like, you want to build yourself up, but then you want those people around you building themselves up.
Yeah, if you're being successful and you look to your left and your right and there's no one with you, you're not successful.
Yeah.
You know, you better bring some homies with you, or you're doing it wrong. You know, you better look yourself in the face real quick if you're alone.
Fully, dude.
Yeah.
Because it's lonely there.
Yeah,
you're
for
lonely.
Sure.
Yeah. I learned that like when growing up, because I was like just trying to pursue skateboarding, and I sacrificed a lot of relationships just to pursue skateboarding, you know. And then when I reached that level with skating, I was like, oh man, like I kind of like, I'm glad I did this, but at the same time, I neglected things that I should have carried with me, you know. And I learned that real fast. You know,
like, it's very few professional skaters get to be pro as they get older, right? You're going to come off. Same with the Army, like best case scenario for most people is a 20-year career, right? That is like perfect scenario. Most people don't do it. They join. I don't remember what the percentage is, but very few make it to a 20-year retirement. but you have to be grown enough to understand that you're going to leave around 20, 24, 23 or 30 years. Grown enough to develop everyone behind you to keep things going. But if it's all about you until the day you get out, what did you leave behind? Like, you just sacrificed America's sons and daughters and the next mission if you didn't build 100 to 200 of your replacements. You know, like, these people are staying in, these people are going to get it right, these people are going to replace me and him and him and him and her. Like, you got to do that. Same with, I would assume, pro skating. Like, you can't be a pro skater forever, but like, who's going to replace you? How are you going to be value added as a team manager or a company owner or whatever? How are you going to continue to be part of skateboarding, but not trying to be the guy on the board? You know, you can't always be the guy on the board, but you can support the guy on the board. You know, you can set the best conditions possible for them to be successful and continue everything you love about skateboarding. You're just going to have to take a different approach to be a part of it. And that's the same with, you know, us as we get older. Like, I'm much closer to being out of the Army than I was ever in the Army. You know, like, the most you usually do is 30 years without some crazy exception. 20 years is full retirement. 30's, like, most people don't ever make it this far. If I do 30 years, like, holy cow, man, that means I will have been like, so like right now, I was 19 when I joined, and I've been in for 26 years now. So I've been in the Army 7 years longer than I ever lived before I was in the Army.
That's how I feel about skating.
You know? Right. The average staff sergeant in my unit, which is the second level of sergeant, is the same age as my children.
That's
right.
Insane. Yeah.
Right. So you asked earlier if I had kids. I got two. I have a soon to be 23-year-old son and a soon to be 21-year-old daughter.
Right.
I've been married for 25 years to the same person. Like, that's super successful, and never saw that coming. Growing up, I didn't, you know, I have one friend all the way through high school that still had his original mom and dad together. Like, I didn't know marriages lasted, and here me and my wife are at 25 years. And I always tell people, man, I really like my wife, and they look at me crazy, like, why do you say like instead of love? It's like, man, people love the wrong people all the time. Imagine liking the person you're with for 25 years. Like, that's
a crazy thing with the title family too, is like, people have that title family, and then they'll treat each other like shit, and you're like, well, that you're taking the title for granted. Like, maybe,
dude, no one will rip you off, break into your house, and get in your business. No criminal will do that worse than a family member. like family is like the worst group of people in the world a lot of the time, you know.
It's crazy because, like, I've watched, there's a lot of my family, and it's like that title is so personal that you take everything so offensive, you know. And it's like, let's relax, like, let's be friends before we're family.
Right.
Yeah. Like, let's go slower.
yeah, for sure.
So, you know,
we're moving too quick.
Yeah.
You know?
It's crazy, you know.
It's not me, it's you. This isn't gonna work. No.
For me too, like, All I Need was kind of that for me. Like, when I created the business of All I Need, the brand, it was my way of going, look, man, like, skateboarding's done a lot for you, and like, you've indulged, and you had the boards and the shoes, and like I can't keep being that dude and thinking that I'm gonna be this like fucking hip pro into like, you know, like, I'm like, there's diminishing returns. Like, how can I stay involved? Like, how can I give back? Like, how can I keep it growing? Because the thing that helped me and gave so much to me and helped me understand my life and my world and gave me my fiance and gave me a sense of purpose. Like, how can I keep giving back to that, because it's given so much to me? So how do I contribute? So I was like, maybe I can build a brand and like give these kids a chance to like experience some travel, get, you know, be a part of being sponsored, have the structure to like walk them into it and figure things out, and give them space to be creative and like have a community and like play a part. And it was like, that was my thing with All I Need, is like, that's what I need. I need that community. I need to create it. I need to like give it back to them, because people did that for me. So now it's my turn to serve instead of just take, you know.
Like, I heard you talking the other day, like, it's funny, like, you skate with, in Westgate, and you've got your pros, your pros on your team, and you're like, oh man, you know what my favorite thing to do is? It's go skate with Chloe. Like, that's my favorite thing in the entire world to do. It's like this dude could go like use his name, travel around, visit skate parks, visit other pros, do whatever. And like he's like, nah man, me and Chloe are gonna go learn some tricks. Like, we're gonna get it right, That's
Dude,
pretty awesome.
she's so inspiring to me every time I see her. Just her attitude,
Yeah.
her approach, her like lust and like excitement for skating. Like it just like it's cool because she just turned 13 and like
Yeah.
she's always progressing and she's never satisfied. Like she'll enjoy a moment, but then she knows that she could do it better. Or there's something beyond it. Like to see that in a little kid like packaged up and like
Yeah.
it's very fucking inspiring. So like any chance I get to skate or hang with her, like she's
Yeah.
legitimately like Brandon Westgate was my favorite skater, and now Chloe Antonelli
awesome.
is my favorite skateboarder.
That's
Like,
awesome.
yeah, and that's like
When's Chloe
hands
getting
down.
when's Chloe getting a board, right?
She's
Like
gotta earn it, dude. We're not there
yeah,
yet. We're
yeah,
not
put
there
it there.
yet.
Gotta get it there,
That's a lot. Like it's crazy because I hang out with a lot of kids and they're
So
excited and they want these things, and I'm like,
yeah,
well, look at what Billy had to do to get
yeah.
his board.
So
Look
this
at
so
Evan, like,
so we call this developmental counseling, right? So you gotta put it on paper, like, okay, here's where you are,
yep,
here's the things you need to accomplish, and once you accomplish those things, then we'll consider promotion, right? So
yeah.
you can work them all the way through. I know
And
she's
that
flow though.
helps.
I know you're flowing. You're
Yeah.
flowing the t-shirts and stuff.
And that helps when you're a young kid. Like that helped
Yeah.
me. Like there was companies that I sent tapes to and they gave me a structure. Like you're doing a good job, but this
Yeah.
is what these guys are doing and this is where you should be. So I took that as like constructive criticism. I didn't
Yep.
get offended. I was like, oh, okay, well that gives me a direction. That gives me something to aim at,
Yeah.
I try to do that for them. I try to set like a rank or a standard. I'm like, look,
Yeah.
this is flow. Evan's pro. Look what
Right.
Evan's done. Watch his video parts. Look at
Right.
how he carries himself, and it gives them something to go.
Right.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Because it's not just the tricks. Like, I think if you like, we would ask what I would ask if I had someone that's trying to make the next level, like, what's your vision statement? Like, give me your vision statement. If you can't tell me like what you're going to stand for and what you're going to try and do as a human, we don't have a starting point. I need to know your vision for X before we even start,
Yeah, yeah.
because I don't care how good you do all the things that are required of you. What is your vision for the organization and yourself and the future, right?
Yeah.
So
You
I'm
gotta,
developing.
that's a big part. That's a big part
Yeah.
of like wanting to be a pro skateboarder is you having
Yeah.
your own vision. Cause like
Yeah,
you gotta be able to see where you want to go with your skating and you gotta have that internal fire and drive. No one's gonna do that for you. So you
Nope.
gotta start crafting that yourself for sure.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
get them to verbalize it. Even the young kids, like, okay, like, what's your vision for this? Like, question number one, like, what do you think being a pro means? So like one of the questions I like to ask people when they come into our boards is like, why do you want to be a sergeant? Like, why do you want to be one? Like, is it just the natural next step and you think you've done your time, or like why do you want to be one? And once you're one, what are you going to do with it? And it, like, man, if they're like, oh man, because I've been in for 5 years and I came to work every day. Oh, yeah, sure, man. Anybody can do that. Give me the realness.
Yeah.
So we could ask them the same thing. Like,
No, I like that. Thank you.
you
It's crazy because like there's like it's crazy because kids are talented these days and that's awesome. And they're talented and can do every trick, but a lot of them only have little kid style, which is fine,
Yeah.
But like that's like but people blow smoke up their ass all the time. That's
Yeah.
what pisses me off. I'll see like a little kid with talent and potential and he's doing great or she.
Right.
And then some people around him are just like blowing smoke up their ass, like you should be pro, and they just fill their head up with all this
So-
shit. And I'm like, you're just misleading them. Like, what the
The
fuck?
analogy I use for people like that is like, okay, let's take professional football. All right. How many kids in America play Pop Warner football and they're the best person on their team?
Yeah.
But then there's how many teams, right? Then they go to high school. How many of those guys end up being high school starters? Then they go to college. How many of them even make it on the damn team? And then these guys that put their bodies through hell on Saturdays, how many of them actually make it to the NFL? And then how many of them actually make it on the field in the NFL?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's a difference. Like it shrinks. So like when you're watching a professional athlete, you are no kidding watching the best of the best in the world, you know? And there might be someone who's the best basketball player in the world out on the streets of your neighborhood that failed to go to college, failed to market themselves, failed to knock on the right doors, and they're never going to be pro. And they've got every skill in the world, but they didn't complete the requirements on the way there. Right. So you got to knock out the requirements, because I don't care how good you are, you'll be lost on the Instagram flow and like, oh yeah, nice trick next, nice trick next, and no one's going to care. You know, I think that kind of brings back to the YouTube thing. You start creating, people start to understand your personality and your character and what's important and what you stand for and what your vision is. You get that longer content, and now people are invested in you. Right? Like, man, I want that person to represent whatever we're doing, wheels, decks, boards, t-shirts, whatever, because of your presence. Like presence matters. Doesn't matter how talented you are if you don't have the presence and character that go with that.
Yeah. And definitely no one can do you better than you. So figure out who you are, question who you are, figure out who that is, and then try to play to your strengths for sure.
And a lot of people are uncomfortable with who they are, right? So you're talking about like people like, oh man, I want to start making videos. Like, how do you do that? Man, my number one advice to everyone that wants to make a video is make a damn video. Like, stop trying to figure out you're not going to start your channel with like the perfect all I need sign in the background with the perfect mic and the right guest. Like, that's not going to happen. You just have to put up some shit and go learn from it. And like, that's the only way to do it, is put it out there and keep putting it out there and learn from it. The only way you can learn anything is to do it. If you think you're going to figure it all out on the homework side of it and build this little perfect thing and put it out there day one, you're crazy, man. You got to go take some L's if you want to be fucking excellent at anything.
That's how styles forge too. Taking losses, trial and error. That's where styles forge, is you're learning to balance. You're falling, getting back up, and you're starting to figure it out. And that's when your own natural style comes in. When you're just trying to use a cheat sheet or like think you're gonna have it figured out, it ain't gonna work. That's not reality.
You script it like all the successful people, you're just another one of them. Like, how many Casey Neistat's do we need? I'm pretty sure we just need one Casey Neistat. I don't need fucking 500 fucking Caseys. You know, like, you know, and like skateboarding, like how boring would skateboarding be if everyone did everything the same, right?
If everyone was Nyjah, I'd kill myself.
Right. What if like if Nee Williams didn't heel flip like Nee Williams, like, man, okay, it's just another heel flip. No, that's a fucking Nee Williams fucking heel flip. Like,
that's
you could know that by the shadow, right? You know, so like that style matters, you know.
Definitely.
That's what I like about like skateboarding. Like, you can ask someone how to do something, but you should really ask them what they're trying to do, because like their foot is not going to be where your foot's going to be. Like everyone's going to skate differently. So like, it's almost like, what's the desired effect, not how did you do that? You know, what I'm trying to do is get my board to go in the air, and I'm trying to flick it as it's reaching the apex of its height, so it gets a full flip and then comes down flat. Oh, okay. So I'm flicking too early or I'm flicking too late, because now I understand the effect of what you're trying to do, not I flick, I pop and I flick and then I land, right? That doesn't explain it. Explain to me the effect of what you're trying to gain, you know? I don't know if that makes sense.
It's crazy. No, it does. It's crazy how many people are different too. Like when I teach lessons, there was kids that like I could tell them exactly how to do something and they would be able to do it, but then there's nothing to it. They're just not into it. They're like, oh, you just kind of robbed them of it, you know? You robbed them of their own like autonomy. And then there's other kids that you could tell them, but they just don't even listen, but they'll figure it out on their own or whatever. It's every person's so different. Like some people just need a friend or a mentor, or some people need someone to challenge them, or someone needs just them to listen to them, you know? Like it's unbelievable how complex every person is. I love that aspect of skating and teaching skating or lessons, is that
I think skating with other people is so important.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
because I do a lot of skating by myself in the morning, so I don't like to film when other people are there. And it's not that I don't like to film because they're there. I feel like it's disrespectful to them. Like, why is this guy filming while we're trying to skate?
Oh
So
man, I'm a worse
you
then.
know, yeah. So like, I just try and be aware of that for me. Um, but like when I'm skating by myself, I'm always working on the same things because that's my comfort zone. That's where my head's at. But then like when I skate with other people, like you start to see different lines, you start to see different approaches. And like the session I just had with Michael Relevant, like I did 4 things I would have never done. Were any of them like incredible? Like, oh man, that was awesome. No, they weren't, right? So one trick was I would never try a blunt pop back into transition. Like I'm not ready for that, right? But he took me to a bank where I kind of tail slid into a blunt, and then I jumped up and went back into fakie.
Right.
Like that was at the right level for something I could try outside of my comfort zone, but very doable. And it just helped me learn that body weight shift from going to the blunt to jumping up, transferring my body weight to go ready to go down fakie without slipping out. And I thought, man, this is great. Like I would have never tried that on my own. I would just never been like, yeah, whatever. It wouldn't have been there. But just having someone there that is willing to spend some time with you and make you see things a little different, super valuable.
Definitely. Yeah, that's awesome. That's another aspect I like of teaching lessons too, is if you can take it from that angle, is where you observe someone and then you find something that you're like, I know this will help them.
Yeah.
And then you can share it. Like that's the best feeling, because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, they're not even aware that they could do it on that thing or that.
Right.
And it's like you're giving them a gift,
So that's like me in the YouTube comments, right? So I can't watch a video without fucking commenting. And I try most of the time to add some type of value added comment, and not just some like, oh man, that was great. Like I'm in people's business. Like I'm like, oh man, I thought about this, and this, or hey, that was great approaching this, like lighting on this. Like I like to, my wife calls it participate, right? So like I'll be over there like typing my little remarks, and my wife's like, are you participating? I'm like, yeah, I'm participating. like I want to be present in that person's video. Like every person that makes a video, like they go out and they film and they edit and they do all this work. Like I want them to know that I watch their shit. So like I leave excessive in-depth comments sometimes, and probably people don't want my coaching or my advice, but man, I'm giving it until people tell me not to. I don't know how to not do it.
No, that's awesome, because as a creator, it's like you want people's feedback, good, bad, or ugly. You just want that engagement, because you're like out here in space and time and you're creating something, and you just don't know unless someone tells you something. Right. You're like, oh, this is where I am connecting. Like, you just don't know. It's valuable. And that Tim McKinney's big on that too, giving you a little slice of like heart or encouragement, and it means a lot.
I wish there was like a McKinney decoder ring though, because like he uses some abbreviations and some hashtags. I'm looking into the Captain Crunch box for the decoder ring so I can fucking untimmy that shit. So
such a ledge. It's his passion. His passion pours out.
For sure. And like, and it's about the skating. Like he'll tell you like he calls it the machine. Like the machine took everything they could get from him, and they spit him out, and like it wrecked him. And like it's just been the last couple of years where he's been skateboarding for himself freely, that he's really like found the love for it again. What an incredible human. But man, reading his shit, like you better call your intel guys and fucking figure that shit out sometimes. It's fucking rough.
He's in the metaverse before any of us, dude. Trying to figure that shit out real fast.
It's looking awesome. But like, man, I love it. Like anybody that pops into my channel like and leaves any type of comment, like, oh man, that's awesome. Like I don't give a shit about the views. Here's why I like views. I spent so much time doing it, man. I hope somebody watches, just because I'm invested myself in it. Like I want someone to share in it. I never ask people to like, I don't ask people to subscribe. Like I don't do those things. I don't even know if it matters if you do those things.
I don't know.
I'm just grateful. Yeah, I'm just grateful that people are there. I've never had a video blow up. Like I've never been like, oh man, 2,000 views in 2 days. No, man. Like my best videos maybe almost at 6,000 views, but it's been just consistent, like consistently over my time on average, 800 views per video on average over my 4-year period. Man, I'll take that. Like, who am I, right?
If
Like,
you look at it like you're building something
yeah,
for a long term, that's good.
yeah,
You're building
like,
up a retention rate and people are paying attention and it's consistent, it's
yeah,
growing like little
yeah.
increments. That's huge.
Just keep doing, like, every video for me is a success. Like, so that's one thing I'll talk to some of my paratroopers about. They'll be like, we have no free time. I was like, we have no free time? I was like, you're telling me, you as the young soldier, you have no free time, but me as the battalion sergeant major, I can go out, I can skateboard, I can learn a trick, then I can come back and I can edit all those clips together and then make a video and then do all the things it takes to put one on YouTube. I don't think people realize how much time it takes just to get video from computer into YouTube publishing, right? That takes a minute by the time you do thumbnail and description and blah, 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 blah. Like, it's time consuming. I was like, if I can do that like once or twice a month, like, we have some free time. Like, I promise you. Like, what are you doing with yours? You're probably scrolling, or you're probably having a few beers, or you're probably playing your PlayStation. Like, man, I'm trying to do something with my free time, and the videos help. And the videos also help me because it holds me accountable to my skating. Like, if I don't put up a video for a while, people start hitting me up like, hey man, like, you good? When's the next video? Blah, blah. And like, that's a reality slap in the face to me. It's like, man, I'm not making time for myself. I'm not getting it in. Or, yeah, I know I'm not getting in because we have X, Y, and Z going on, but this is when I plan to get the next one in. But it keeps me on track. Like, the videos hold me accountable to my own skating. Like, it's a super important part of my skating. Because I started it at the same exact time I started skating, it's very much connected. Like, I didn't go like, oh, I'm good at skateboarding, I'm going to share it. It's like, okay, I'm going to skate and I'm going to share it from the start, from the whole process. And it's been integrated the whole time. And plenty of like channels have come and gone. Like, there's a bunch of dudes I started with, like, they were like the ride or die homies, and they're no longer making videos. I'm like, oh man, that sucks. I'll hit them up like, hey, you still skating? They're like, no, I'm not. I'm like, oh man, make some time. And sometimes a guy comes back and I get excited, like the dude was gone for a year and now video pops up. I'm like, oh shit, that's rad. Or you get the new people coming in, and some are super successful right off the bat. And I'm like, man, like, you're getting it right. But then like a lot of people are judging their new success off these shorts. I don't think you can do that. Shorts is like an Instagram scroll, right? People are going to see it, they're not going to see it. But if you got 1,800 views on a short, but all the videos you purposely made have 75 views, like,
disconnect there. Yeah,
right, it's two different audiences. Like, same as Instagram. I have a clear example of how disconnected the audiences are for short content versus long content. I made a video called the best POW flight deck review. Fucking great session, great fucking video. Go watch that video for sure. Like, I'm pumped on that one. But POW Peralta shared my little ad for that video on their Instagram.
Right.
And POW Peralta got 18,000 views in 4 days on that little fucking ad I did.
Gnarly.
I got zero difference in analytics for that video.
Yeah,
that's how disconnected the short content to the long content is. It's a two totally different audiences, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like, I always kind of figured it was disconnected because I try and pull people from Instagram over to my YouTube, and I don't know if it works or it doesn't work. I don't really see anything major, but like, that was a clear one. 18,000 to 0, no questions asked. The two totally different things.
That's clear as day.
My pump that POW, which I grew up on, fucking shared my shit. Fuck yeah, that was gnarly. You know, I was excited as shit. Like, when I came back into skating is when the flight decks were coming out. And I thought it was so cool that the company that I grew up on had made like this board that I felt confident to skate as a 210-pound human. Like, I was uncomfortable learning board slides and those type of things when I first started, because man, I'm not trying to get hurt. Like, that flight deck technology gave me stupid confidence. Like, I'm not going to break this board. I can go a little bit harder. I can do these things. So it's like cool that I ended with Powell in the 80s and I got to pick back up with Powell in 2017.
Yeah, that's right.
So
It's
like the first world board I owned is when they just reissued them. That's like because I stopped skating when World came out,
Yeah. That's sick.
Yeah.
That's sick that they had the technology that made you feel confident. I never really thought about that angle of it, but that's right.
Yeah, as a 200-pound person, an uncoordinated 200-pound person, like when does a board take its worst beating? It's not when you're a pro. It's like when you're learning how to skate.
Oh yeah.
So
Coming
like
down on a curb or a ledge or a rail
right,
and just
the
like
smallest
snap.
little things,
Yeah.
you're just not ready for it. But having those two layers of the whatever it's carbon fiber or fiberglass, whatever it is, like I know it's not going to break, and it just gives me a lot more confidence to go things. Now, saying that, I've never broke a board, like, and I've skated plenty of wood boards. I've never broke a board, and I've never broke a shoelace. Not sure if I'm really a skateboarder yet because I haven't done any of those things because I only do heel flips, so I've never broke a shoelace. Yeah, so but also like I don't skateboards to death either. So like when I was a kid, I really, one of the big reasons I stopped skating is we just couldn't afford it anymore. Like just kind of like, man, we just don't have the money. So like as a 44-year-old, I'm gonna buy some shit. Like if it comes out and I want it, I'm getting it. And
That's
so
awesome.
like I might skate a board 4 or 5 sessions and I'm passing it on to somebody. They're getting almost a pretty brand new board 99% of the time. Because I want the next shit. Like that's part of this adventure to me is I want to try it all. I want to try everything. Like when I build this next All I Need board, like I've never tried Rick the Clouds. Like I got these badass chrome rims I'm about to put on your Prosper board, because if you're gonna have a Prosper board, you better have some chrome rims on them.
Damn right.
So I'm gonna try those on that. That'll be cool. Like I'm a bones guy just by nature. I do like the Orbs wheels. Have you skated Orbs?
Nope.
They're the Welcome. I think the guys over at Welcome make them.
Okay.
I like their wheels a lot, but I tried the Spitfire because that's when I was like, oh man, Spitfire this, Spitfire that. I tried the tablets. They're pretty square for locking in on grinds. They lock in so well, like you can hear them squeak when you go along lines. I was like, I don't like that. Like I'm very audible when I skate. Like I want to hear the bearings. I want to hear the tail. I want to hear everything. I could hear like across grinds. I was like, nah.
That's weird.
Not for me. Yeah. I was like, no.
Board can't be squealing, bro.
No. It's pretty funny.
It's crazy, like speaking back to like creating YouTube videos. For me, a lot of it is like I look at it like collecting memories. That's what really drives me is like I try, because I'm the filmer.
Yeah.
A lot of the times. Like so I'm capturing all these people and it's like I live near a skate park where I go to Skater's Edge and there's fucking people coming from all over New England. So there's so many new people and like so many people I'm connected with, so many different people coming from different states and all that stuff. And a lot of times when I'm filming, I'm just like, I feel like I'm documenting, collecting memories. And then we go on these road trips, or like I'm watching Chloe grow up through digital video, or like, and I'm like, these are going to be like, I'm like thinking, when I'm 60, I'm going to go back on this YouTube channel that I've had going for fucking 20, 30 years. Yeah. I don't care if it's made me any money or if it has 1 million views. I'm going to go back and watch these videos and I'm going to be in tears because of like how good my life has been, like I literally, I'll make a video and I'll be sick of the video after I make it, because I'll take the whole week of editing it, and it's like I'm driving myself crazy trying to. I like have a hard time deleting clips because I'm like, I don't want to delete this. Like,
so I'm the opposite. I delete all the clips after I'm done editing the video. I only keep the finished product.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
for me, it's like hard to let go of stuff. I'm like, I can't.
I think it helps because I do that narration and I'm telling the story. Like I kind of have it all in one little package.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you have some script kind of with the narration to follow.
Because I can just watch myself talking to myself. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I was doing.
For me, I'm like hard to cut stuff out. Like my last edit I'm working on, we went to Maine and I brought Chloe, who's 13, who rips. I brought Elijah, who's like younger than her, who's fucking ripping and learning tricks for the first time. Silas, little like 13, 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Anders, 13, 14. And I'm like, this is their first time on a skate trip, like with a team. And we hit a street spot where they're bombing down a bank and shit. And they were like, I'm like, I can't, like, how can I delete this shit? Like, and it's like, I can't put in 5 of the same trick, but they're all sick.
So what you can do is you can make them like little video libraries. Like, this is the Chloe library. This is the X library. Like, you can build them their own little files.
Yeah, I do.
So they have that, you know.
I'll send them like their raw clips too after, because I'm just like, here, you put it online too. Like, but it's like, to me, I'm like, I go back. So I'll film a whole edit. It'll take me a week to film it, maybe longer sometimes. And I'll try to get it to like where I feel like there's no space. Sometimes if I'm having a bad week and I'm editing, it's like it comes out sloppy, whatever. But when I'm at my best and I'm filming, I'm trying to like trim it down to where there's no fat, but it's like I didn't cut out anything, that like I didn't just sacrifice anything. So, and I get this thing and I'm like, this is airtight and it's jam packed. And then when I go like the next week, when I go to like skate, I'll put that video on and I'll watch it in my car on my phone with the surround sound because it's loud.
Yeah.
And I watch it and I just sit in the car before I go skate and I'm like, I just sit there and I'm like, I'm so grateful. Like, I'm like, this is so fun. Like, these people are so awesome. Like, I'm going to go in right now and see all these people again.
That's
and
awesome.
Like, we created this, and this is like, it just like makes me like, it's hard for me to be ungrateful and shitty if I can just watch these videos of these awesome sessions and like moments that, and it's like, to me, that's more value. That's priceless. It's not like, I don't care. I don't care if no one watches it. To me, that's fucking worth millions of dollars, you know? Like, and I'm like imagining when I'm 60 years old and I look back and I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna be able to watch people grow up and people learn tricks.
It goes back to what I was saying before. Like, I tell people, like, stop making videos for making videos. Like, record what you're naturally gonna do. Like, what do you want to walk away from it with? Like, if you're planning a video, you're probably getting it wrong. If you're planning your life and documenting it, you're probably getting it right. You know, it's like, make the video that you want to look back on. Man, I like watching my own videos. The whole reason I really started filming is I wanted to watch myself. Am I doing what I think I'm doing? Because until you see yourself, like, you can't see yourself, you know? So like, oh man, I'm leaning too far forward when I squat, or hey, on that heel flip that I landed, like, my foot was in this position. Like, I need to remember that next time I go back. Just having that visual Rolodex is what's helped me learn a lot of tricks. When I've gotten it right, that sticks in my head after I can watch it back. And so, like, I like to have that library of this adventure. Like, that's the cool part about it. Like, when this is all said and done, like, when I'm gone, man, those videos are still going to be out there somewhere. Like, some fucking alien's going to come down and click on it and be like, oh man, this guy was the best keeper in the whole world. And I'm like, I was, you know, because they're not going to know anything.
He rips. He rips.
This is him. This is the guy, you know. That's
so funny.
In the zombie apocalypse, my videos will be out there somewhere, you know.
That's we're gonna survive. On the mood of the culture right now, we're gonna survive. All you people that think we're not gonna, that's just wishful thinking. That's the easy way out. The easy way out is that the world ends and everything goes to shit. But
I got an easier way, man. I'm going the way of the raft, man. Like, someday, like, hey man, where'd Greg go? He's gone. Boom. Like, I'm gone. I'm rafting out of here, man. You know. Get me some rapture on, you know.
Man.
I'm just gone. Just poof. Where'd he go? He's at peace. All right, roger that. You know. I'm going to a funeral tomorrow, right? And everyone's like, oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm like, dude's 94 years old. Like, 94 is super successful life, man. Like, I cannot be sad for a 94-year-old. Like, when you're sad when people pass, it's because you're gonna miss them. Like, what are you gonna miss? Like, but for them, like, man, 94.
That's like, a full life, dude.
We're talking 1920, 1930 you're born. Like, think about everything that person's seen, from the automobile, color TV, space travel, a fucking smartphone, right?
World wars.
Yeah, major fucking wars and conflict. Like, man, that's an incredible life. Like, honor it, like respect it, and like move on, man. But like I have trouble feeling sad for people that lived awesome full lives. Like, man, they're gone, but man, they did it right. 94, that's sick. You know,
that's a full ride for sure.
yeah, for real. Both my grandfathers lived to 94. You know, it's funny, my other grandfather, his most successful years of life were 93 and 94.
Wow.
Man, you can only wish on that. He published some book on aliens that blew up, and like grandma's still getting paid, you know. That's super sick, you know.
That's so wild.
Yeah. You know, he's got like YouTube videos with like hundreds of thousands of views from being interviewed and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, I got 500 views, but my crazy ass fucking grandfather fucking got, you know, hundreds of thousands of views. It's pretty funny.
It's crazy to think that like they were creating stuff and they didn't even know that it would be in the digital age and that many people would see it, and like,
for sure,
that's surreal. That's a fucking crazy life, dude.
It's gnarly, man. But yeah, I hope I'm more successful when I'm older than I ever was when I was younger, because that means I'm constantly progressing. Like, that's the goal. I don't want to retire and be like, oh, I'm retired. No, like, I want, like, what's next? Like, and hopefully I'm laying that foundation, laying those seeds down now, so like I don't have to figure it out later. Like, it's just going to be a natural progression as I transition out of this lifestyle to the next. We just keep building and growing, and I hope it has something to do with investing in people. Like, I want to make people great. Like, it sounds stupid and like artificial, but like, if I could do one thing in life, how can I make other people better? And to me, it's how do you help other people reach their vision? You know, first, a lot of people just can't define it. Get them to define it, and then what are the tools that are needed, and how do we get there? And I want to help people get there. Yeah.
I think it's totally doable, man, and I think we need more people with that vision and that like goal, because like,
we win together, right? Like, when other people are successful, we're all successful. You
definitely.
So
it helps, man.
But that's the dream anyway. We'll see.
Keep going. You're on the right path.
Yeah. You know, if not, you'll find me living in an RV down by the beach somewhere, surfing and skating and being like, I tried, you know. You know, it'd be sick.
Yeah. Well, sick,
man.
Man.
What's next for All I Need before we get out? What's the next thing, right? So whoever did the fucking graphics for the last 4 boards with the fucking
like
hot air balloon and the damn fucking squid, you know, holy shit. That's not, my boss is super talented artist, like Disney level artist. And then I showed him the octopus and he's like, that's fucking amazing. He's like, that's so
my friend Matt created that graphic and he knocked it out the park, man. And the shirt you have on too, like we did that series on t-shirts as well. I have a new board. We actually just put out a hoodie today on our online store. It's like praying hands with an anchor.
I saw that.
That's Dude, I was
thinking
too.
You know what I was thinking when I saw that? It's like there's a Instagram group called Official Military Skate. The Navy would eat the fuck out of that.
Oh,
sure. There's a bunch of Navy skaters like that's right up their alley. They would love that shit.
Yeah, man. So that was kind of like not easy for me, because for me, like I have like I'm not religious, but like I believe in God, and like I like, for me to put something out like that was kind of not easy to do. Like, so
I jump out of airplanes for a living. I'm not doing that alone. Promise you that. I'll be religious all day. Like, I got praying hands tattooed right there. But if you look at them, let me back it up.
There you go.
They're not clean, right? The cuff is ripped. You know, the cuff is all ripped. The nails are gnarly.
Yeah.
The hands themselves are tattooed, right? Like, you can go through your shit. You can go through your shit, but you don't have to go through alone. And then do you know the story behind the art of the praying hands that you see people get tattooed and on shirts and stuff?
No.
So these hands, it's not like an angel or anything. It's uh, Da Vinci's was when he was becoming an artist, not Da Vinci. Um, man, who was it? One of the great artists of all time. I forget. Maybe the guy that did the Sixteen Chapel. What was his name? Michelangelo. Michelangelo, right? When he was back in the day, like you had to be an apprentice. So you were working for someone that was an artist, and that's how that person was supported, because you worked their land and you took care of their shit, and they taught you art while they did their art. Well, eventually Michelangelo's teacher realized that he had become more talented than him. So Michelangelo started doing the art and the teacher started doing all the work. So it's his old hands that used to do, you know, perfectly smooth, beautiful art are now gnarled from working in the fields. Like he sacrificed his art for Michelangelo's art. So
Wow.
like they're not pretty untouched hands of an angel. They're the hands of a hardworking individual that sacrificed his love for someone else's.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like
You know?
that. Yeah,
So,
for me it was like hard to put that out because it's weird to like sometimes it's hard to put that into your creation and like think people will take it the wrong way. But I kind of
yeah.
say like with All I Need, what I'm working on lately is I'm kind of separating the apparel and the skateboarding stuff. Like I'm still gonna have All I Need Skate, but I turned my own account, my Instagram account, into All I Need Apparel because I wanted to like put like for the apparel side of things, I wanted to put a little like more into it besides
Yeah.
just skateboarding. I wanted to branch outside skateboarding a little bit because I have like a depth to me that like I just like I want to put out there on some
Yeah.
level, you know? So to
You want
me,
to grow, you want to continue to grow, and you don't want to box yourself in. If you box yourself in, there's no room. So like
yeah,
now you just
exactly.
opened a whole new opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, all I need is like everybody can has that.
Something they need. Yeah.
Yes, everyone can relate to that
So
on some level. So
that's kind of like if I was to grow my little thing, Adventures in Skateboarding, right? If I was to grow that, so here's the funny story. When I started, I thought it was about the at 40 plus part of this title. It's what it's turned into is the adventures part of it, right?
yeah,
If I was going to create a shirt, it would be what's your adventure? Like skateboarding is my adventure. Like that's where I found my piece. But
yeah,
if you want to go garden, you want to go golf, you want to go read, like I don't care what it is. What is your adventure? What creates that time and space for you as an individual that makes you better at everything else? So like skateboarding is just my method, but I'm interested in everybody else's method. Like how do
yeah,
you take care of yourself? You know?
yeah.
So I get it. Don't box yourself in. Like it doesn't, skateboarding has brought you to here, but it doesn't need to be the only thing that takes you further. You know,
Yeah, I appreciate that.
you know,
That helps me feel like not so crazy.
no, don't like put it out there, you know, put it
Yeah.
out there, you know, like we said before, like how are you going to learn? You're not going to learn shit until you put it out there, you know,
Yeah, for a
and
long time in my life, like skating was my whole thing, my whole purpose, and it still is.
yeah,
But like, there's always been other things in my life that I've just like, I've hung on to that I don't share as much. So it's
yeah,
like I wanted to find an outlet to be able to express that side of me that doesn't that I don't have to force into the skateboarding side of things, you know?
yeah. But look at Lance Mountain, Gons, Nodis, like these guys, they're not living off the fact that they were the creators of a certain genre of skating. They're living off their art. Every one of them,
Yeah,
you know, that's what they're living off of. You
yeah.
know, they're the greatest there ever was that created a whole genre of skateboarding, and they're more interested in being artists than skateboarders.
Yeah, they've done it. They've done
You
it
know,
and they've come around to it. Yeah, it's insane,
yeah.
man.
So
Uh,
no, continue to grow, man. Like, and it's good. So like we talked about earlier, if you're uncomfortable, you're probably on the right track. You're obviously uncomfortable, which means
yeah.
you're obviously on the right track, because you could just be like, oh man, I do all I need skateboards. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's
You
true.
know?
I felt that way for a while. I don't want to be too
Yeah.
comfortable ever. I like being
No.
in change. We're also gonna do the New England Am contest is coming up. I don't have the date set in stone, but it's gonna be in January. We've done it like 6 years, and then the pandemic happened, so we missed a year. But it's coming back, full on amateur contest, all ages. gonna be epic per usual. So that's coming up. I'll
Awesome.
have a flyer sooner than later, and I'll be promoting that. And that's usually like anywhere from like 100 to 200 people that come and compete,
Wow.
which is insane. Yeah, and I announce the thing, and my voice is usually blown out by the end of the
Yeah.
day. And my eyes are burnt because I've seen so much fucking amazing skateboarding. It's insane, man. But so in
Awesome.
January, that's coming up, focusing on some of the apparel stuff and building that side of things up, and then just going forward with All I Need Skate and building the team. And we're working on another video. The dudes are getting ready. We did a trip to Florida and they started stacking clips and stuff. So, oh, we're gonna put out issue number 3 of the All I Need magazine. That's coming. Bunch of stuff, dude. We're always
That's
grinding
awesome.
something and aiming. I really appreciate you coming on the show too, man.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
I'm stoked that we got to
Like,
connect again.
thanks for having me, man. Like again, like who am I? Like you get to hang out with legends. But it's like I appreciate like you just being involved and being interested in my little adventure. I think it's pretty cool, man. Like, it says a lot about you and your character as a person and your genuine love for skateboarding and this community. Like, man, you could be a total ass if you wanted, and you're not. And I think that's fucking awesome. It sounds so simple and basic, but like people get it wrong. You're getting it right as a human, and I appreciate that.
Same, man. I appreciate that you're a real human, so it feels
Yeah,
nice to connect and actually be able to talk and have a conversation and not have any weird pressures. And you have don't sell yourself short, dude, because your life
yeah,
your life has been pretty interesting and crazy.
yeah, yeah. It's
Dedicated. You've been working and hard, man. There's a lot of people that avoid all those responsibilities that you've taken on fucking
I'm
fully. So
incredibly blessed. There's zero question in the amount of blessings I've received.
hell yeah.
Zero.
I love that.
And I don't get lost. I try and tell new guys, like, I was hungry when I joined, like, hungry. I never forgot I was hungry. If you never forget you're hungry, you'll work your ass off.
Hell yeah.
That's
Anthony,
it. Stay
thank you,
hungry.
man.
All right, stay rad, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. We'll give it a little bit of time and we'll catch up again soon.
For sure.